Welcome to the Cash Flow Guys podcast.
All right, boys and girls, you know what time it is. You should know where you are. This is Tyler Sheff, and I am the host of the Cash Flow Guys podcast. And this week, no Mikey. Mikey is out flying the friendly skies because another pilot probably didn't show up to work, and that's, you know, how he makes the big bucks is when the other pilots can't make it, they get the sniffles or whatever goes on. Mike steps in as the pinch hitter, grabs the controls, and takes that thing up to 30,000 feet. Which helps pay our advertising budget, by the way. So thank you, Mike, for your donation of time and cash. But with me today, I've got a guest, and it's been a long time since we've had a guest on the show. So I personally am pretty excited about it because, you know, I love talking to Mike, but it's just a little different having somebody new to talk to. And bonus, I get to walk away with learning something new. So anytime I can take away something myself, learn something new, I know you guys are going to learn something because this is going to be a great episode. With me today, we've got Dr. Stephen Nguyen. I got that right, didn't I?
Yes, you did.
All
Perfect.
right. Hey, how are you doing?
Good. Hey, very excited to come on and to share my journey.
So it looks like you graduated pharmacy school in 2013. Now you're working as a hospital pharmacy director. But while working full time, you wanted more, and I dig that. I enjoy that. So you've scaled to 90 units with, here's my best part. I'm going to say this one slow, guys, so y'all get it. He scaled to 90 units without any partners in 5 years with off-market deals. That, Doctor, is a home run. I love that. I'll tell you a short story about that. I won't get done with this intro. Stephen acquired 2 apartment complexes and 1 mobile home park by using direct mail and now provides direct mail consultation service along with mentorship. Welcome to the show.
Once again, very, very excited, Tyler, and thanks for having me on.
My funny little story is I was over at Rod Cleef is a guy that is a friend of mine, fellow podcaster.
Oh,
Yeah. I was at one of his trainings, which, by the way, guys, are very good. If you want to go really get some top-notch education in multifamily, Rod is one place I would look in. Go to several, but Rod's is real good. Anyway, I was at his event one day. He called me and invited me as a guest. It was in Tampa. And you meet and greet people, you shake hands. And this one guy walks up to me and he's all nervous. And he says, "Hey, how many doors do you have?" I was like, "What?" I mean, it wasn't like, "Hi, how you doing?" Nothing like that. "How many doors do you have?" I'm like, "Well, what does that matter?" He says, "I have 50 and I don't talk to anybody that has less than me." And I just kind of looked at him. I was like, "What?" So I was like, "Well, go ahead and try to find a bigger dog then. I'm not even going to get into the conversation with you." Wow. By the way, that was not an endorsed Rod introduction. Rod would teach you a better way to introduce yourself in an environment like that. Oh, I got a kick out of that, though. It made me chuckle. I'm impressed. So let's start, if you don't mind, talking about the no partners thing. Where does that come from? Is it just, hey, why? If I don't need them, I got this, or you built a team, or what does that look like? What made you decide the no partner route?
Yeah, a lot of real estate investors, as you alluded to, they typically, partner and syndicate. Starting off. And I feel like there's a big misconception, and I'm sure you've come across it too, where a lot of people syndicate or partner because they don't have money.
Right.
And they think that that's the only way for them to get into multifamily real estate.
Right.
They've heard it from everywhere. A lot of beginners reach out to me and say, "Hey, I have 0 units, have 0 experience, but I want to syndicate." And my first question is always, why? So, for me, as my background as a pharmacy director, we're naturally very skeptical.
Right.
A lot of people do not know it's about 8 years of schooling. You come out with a doctorate degree, and the nature of us is being very skeptical, and that's what we have to be. And even I was skeptical. Like, why would anyone trust me with their money? Why would anyone want to partner with me? And why would I want to go to my friends and family? Well, I don't know if I'm good enough yet.
Yeah.
But that's what made me go down my own route about partnering. And it just was very nice to not have to run things by people. I just can do everything myself, right? Versus when you have a partner, everything decision you make, you have to run it through your partner. And, for me, I work in the hospital and, you do assisted living. So, we see kind of the worst things that happen, and it's the 4 Ds, right? Disagreement, death, disability, divorce.
Right.
And that can be out of your control, and that can completely force you to sell a deal. And I'm purely buy and hold for the most part. I don't want to sell. If I do sell, it would be a trade up. So for me, I just got into real estate more for the control and the freedom. And I felt like I didn't want to give up any of that at this point while I'm working a full-time W-2. So that's why right now I do not partner. But maybe down the road, I'll reevaluate and see about something that's what I want to do.
I think that's smart. And I started my journey just like you did. I had income. I had a great job, made great money. for a lot of the same reasons. That said, I am a spoiled only child and I didn't want to share either. So that's why, but it's like, well, if I don't have to take on partners or investors, then so be it. My first 5 years in real estate, I had 0 partners. I used the bank and it worked just fine. And I got to a point to where I gravitated into single partner, bring on one partner, because I did have more control than I would, and obviously in a syndicate. And to be honest with you, those of you that jump right into syndication, I think you're missing a big element because you get so set back from the transactional business, because when you get a syndicate, when you build a syndicate, because that's what I'm doing, and I'm learning that I need a much bigger team. Number one, now I have a whole army of attorneys and I have extra tax people and I have all these extra moving parts. That's not a complaint by any means, but it's definitely a lot more to manage. And I personally like being out on the street, talking to the sellers, negotiating the deals. And that's why Mike is such a huge asset to me, because he does a lot of that back office. I mean, Mike's whole job is managing the fund. I'm not going to call it drama, but the structure of the fund. I mean, he flies planes for a living, but really he spends a lot more hours on the fund than he does on flying. He's probably 60 hours a week just on the legalities and all the extra level and all the extra layers, things I'm sure you probably see working in a hospital and being in the medical industry. And it can really bog you down. And be honest with you, I miss being just me and another partner. And my wife and I have been partners for years, obviously, in the business. But so, yeah, I think that's smart the way you're doing it. And if you can always pivot. The only reason we went into syndication, frankly, is we wanted to do bigger deals that were outside of what I could swing on myself. Now I'm getting into the $2 to $10 million deals, and that's a little more than Tyler can swing on himself. So I had to start looking at syndication. But yeah, if I could roll back the test of time, I probably would have done more of the deals that I passed up on in the past, learned that lesson the hard way. And then, I would have grown it bigger. So that's good stuff. Now, 90 units, that's fast. 5 years, that's good. How do you feel about the pace? Was it a comfortable pace for you? Because working a 9 to 5, especially in what you do for a living, that's a very hands-on. There's a lot of complexities in what you do for a living. There's a massive amount of responsibility. How did you balance the time between the two?
Yeah, that's really great. Great question. For me, it was a very natural, I guess, progression is what I'd call it in terms of scaling.
Right.
I did have a lot of massive growth in 2021 during COVID, ironically. But, initially I just started off in single family homes.
Right.
I house hacked actually. So I just lived in the master bedroom. I'd rent out the other rooms and the income would just cover my mortgage for the most part. So it just helped reduce my living expense. And, since the primary residence, you can do 10% down. Right. So I did that for 3 years in California. And as single family homes in California are $1 million.
Oh, yeah.
So, I knew this was not scalable. So I just said, well, I'm self-managing all these properties in California. They're more expensive. So I need to pivot. And I pivoted to Oklahoma City, where I could get about 20 to 26 units for about $500,000 off market. And to me, that just blew my mind, because that's cheaper than a condo in California, right?
Exactly.
And
that's crazy.
You can get a lot more cash flow, and I can afford a property manager.
Yeah.
So that's how you scale, right?
Yep.
So a lot of the deals that I get are all off market through direct mail, and I negotiate directly with the owner, no broker involved.
Right.
So it's direct to owner. And what's nice about that is you can build the trust. You can understand the pain points, and then you're more likely to get seller financing or have the opportunity to pitch it. And that's how you get in with low or no money down. And then you can afford the contractor, the property manager, and then they can help you renovate the units. So a lot of what I'm doing is I'm renovating a lot of my units. Like I think both of my 20 unit and my 26 unit, I'm renovating half the units. Concurrently, with my mobile home park, I'm renovating that, and I'm working a full-time W-2. So it's all just leverage and identifying a team. So once you have that team, it doesn't require that much of your time. And I'm a little bit unique in the sense of I really empower my property manager and general contractor to pick what's best for the unit, because they know the market the best as the boots on the ground. So, and that kind of throws them off, because most owners will just tell them exactly what to do and they have to follow exactly. But for me, I always just kind of say, what can we do to renovate this unit to look modern while being cost effective,
right,
while being renter proof? And
smart.
That always turns out to be the same thing. LVP flooring, some light gray wall paint, bathtub kits, maybe refinish the kitchen cabinets, or if you need to replace it, shaker cabinets. So it's pretty cookie cutter, and then you just copy and paste it.
Right.
So once you kind of get past that initial learning curve and then you follow a system and you leverage your team, honestly, it doesn't take me that much more time. At this point, I just have a once weekly call.
Boy, that was a huge, there's so much in there I want to unpack. That was a lot of nuggets. That was awesome. And I'm going to start with my favorite one. You said a very important thing, and then guys, hit rewind. When you're direct to seller, it's easier to get seller financing. Let that simmer, boys and girls at home, because that is absolutely true. And you're talking to a guy that has a real estate license. I have a real estate license, and you're right, because I think I am probably the only realtor in America that asks every seller if they'll accept payments for their equity or consider terms. So tell me about your experiences with dealing. I love the direct to seller idea, and yes, maybe I'm a hypocrite being a realtor saying that, but it's true. Realtors are automatically, they're number one, realtors are not trained in negotiation at all. It is not in the license program anywhere in the country. And I've examined several different states. I've talked to realtors all over the country over the last 7 years doing this podcast, and this doesn't exist. So having a realtor negotiate for you automatically, I think, starts you out at a disadvantage. I love what you say about number one, you're hitting them direct mail. So when you're dealing direct to seller, first of all, there's no real estate commission baked in there.
No.
Now, you talk about a $500,000 deal, that's 6, 7, whatever it may be, percent, coming right off the top. So the deal, it makes better sense in a lot of cases for the seller. Sometimes sellers wind up giving up their equity, and that's true. But on the buy side, it's a home run. You're already starting out 6% ahead, because guys at home, that real estate commission, the only person that pays the real estate commission, by the way, guys, is the buyer. 100%. They say, well, the seller pays it. No, it comes out of the seller's proceeds. But don't kid yourself to think that the seller can't do simple math. If the real estate commission is 20 grand, they're going to add 20 grand to the asking price, or in some cases, they're going to add 40 grand to the selling price. And then they're going to say, okay, that's how much I get, because sellers are focused on net, right? That's why they have this thing called a seller net sheet. So I love that you're direct to the seller. You're using direct mail, and we're going to cover that in a minute, because I don't want to get lost in where we're at. Second thing you said is contractor picks what's best. And boy, I'm telling you, I'm doing that right now. And I did it initially, but I didn't paint lines on the road. What I did was my mistake with that is I didn't initially, and this is going back many years ago when I used to flip houses, I didn't find the right contractors to do this with. And I like how you said that, because you're absolutely right. If you find the right contractors that understand what you're trying to accomplish and know what the end result looks like, if you can get your vision out of your head and into theirs, and they realize they're going to get a lot more work for you. If you're in Oklahoma or Alabama or wherever you may be, and they're going to get repeat business out of you, they want it easy too, guys. Folks at home, understand that. The contractor does not want to fight with Steven. They don't want to have to try to trick him into getting more money. They don't. A reputable contractor does not like change orders, because it's a stress point. It's just uncomfortable. Now, there are the folks out there that are the opposite. But you sat down with these contractors. You guys have a meeting of the minds. I'm sure you probably didn't jump in the sack with the first one you met. This probably took a couple people, and to get the skill going, right, to understand. Number one, to get clear in communication with them. That's tough, because there's different personalities. You're a highly educated individual, and there are contractors out there that are the extreme opposite. So now that you've gone through that process, I love how you said it. It can really be cookie cutter. Here's 26 units. We're renovating half of them. The other half, I assume, are leased up. And when the leases expire, just go do what you did here on the left side of the building over on the right, something like that.
Hit the nail on the head.
So you get to then know what you can very accurately, and I love this, you can very accurately forecast what your CapEx and your rehab costs are going to be, because you're not making wild changes.
Correct.
So if everything is, for example, when we do our renovations, my wife is stuck on bare paints. She won't buy any paint but bare. So the contractors know they got to buy bare paint, and it has to be, what's this color she uses? It's this off-white color that she wants on every property on the inside. And then there's a color scheme for the outside. And she does these across the board. So what does that mean? That means we can use economies of scale. Talking about COVID, and I'm sure you probably ran into this too. Post-COVID, we're now in a very inflationary environment. I don't know if y'all have shopped for a 5-gallon bucket of paint recently at Home Depot, but things have changed, I can tell you. Fortunately, we got about 25 gallons of it's Adobe White from Behr that we have been hanging on to, because as we bring a new unit online, or we renovate one, or lease up, or a change out, or something like that, now we already have our material, so we could fix our costs. So for you, Stephen, that means much better bottom line, because you can really accurately look into the future, can't you?
Yes.
I love that. Most folks aren't doing that. Most folks are in a panic over this whole recession thing, but it sounds like you're not really even overly concerned about it because you got control of what's going on.
Yeah, I actually scaled the most during COVID when interest rates were low and it was a hot market. And I got both my apartment complexes and my mobile home park in 2021 in 1 year. So a lot of this growth was really rapid. And kind of back to your original question, what allowed me to do it was just leveraging a team.
Right.
And for me, like a lot of people go into real estate because they hate their W-2, but you can learn a lot of nuggets from your W-2 and it translates very well into real estate. Like for me, I manage 40 pharmacists.
Yeah.
What am I developing? Soft skills. I know how to ask questions. I know how to ask questions to get things done. And by me asking questions, it helps me learn too. So a lot of times when I interview multiple property managers, multiple contractors, I'm asking a lot of questions. And after you interview 20 of them, you start to learn. Right. Every time you talk to a property manager or contractor, you will learn one or two things. And once you kind of know how they think, because general contractors think a little differently compared to a pharmacist,
right,
that's when you can learn the most and then, communicate clearly to be on the same page. And, for me, I make it very known that, hey, if you have any question, just respond to me or text me, call me, and I'll respond immediately. And I typically do, within awesome. A couple hours to help them do their job. So it's really, it's a people business, unfortunately. So you have to do your best to vet your team, but then also, I'm big on trust but verify.
Oh,
so
yeah, well said.
Yeah, it's a big one. That's a big one. Because I'm remote, right? I'm in California.
Yep.
I'm working a full-time W-2. It's easy to cheat someone like me.
Yeah, it is.
But that's why I try to build systems in place to say, hey, like after you finish renovations, can you snap some photos for me? Or maybe I'll send my property manager to come and audit it every month or every week on Friday so that we'll pay you. After the audit's done, we'll pay you your weekly draw.
Right.
So there's many ways you can manage this remotely and build a system.
To a contractor that's got a brain, dealing with somebody like you is the kind of customer you want, because not because you could be taken advantage of easily, because you're going to pay on time every time. There's a mutual accountability, right? You're going to keep them accountable. They need to send documentation, which helps the contractor stay on top of the subs. I love that. My contractor, like we're working on a project right now in near Tampa, and it's healthy. It's a big it's a 6-figure rehab, well into the 6-figure rehab. And the GC I have in that job is amazing. He's the guy that I don't have to, he's beating up everybody and maintaining, I say that tongue in cheek, but he is the guy, one of those contractors that has the respect of the construction community. Nobody wants to disappoint him because he's been doing it ethically for 35 years.
Wow.
He's kind of like the OG of contractors in the Tampa market. So everybody is like, they want to do their best work for him because they so want to be aligned with his company as a subcontractor. He pays well. Is he the cheapest guy in town? Absolutely not. But I don't worry about anything. When I go there, I'm always pleasantly surprised. He gives me a quote and it always comes in significantly less. But then again, I have the reputation like you that so let's show the progress and I pay instantly. We don't fiddle fart around on pay because I think that's a big mistake that people make. I like your attitude that they're not necessarily working for you. It sounds like they're working with you, that you've essentially looked at them as partners, as colleagues, and you guys are on the same path, the same trajectory to accomplish very similar goals. Hey, I want to get my stuff rehabbed. I don't want to spend a lot of time shopping for contractors. I want a contractor I can trust who will then hire people, because you are a contractor of pharmacy, essentially, a general contractor of pharmacy. It's the same job, just different tools. You're dealing with people and prescriptions. He's dealing with people and lumber.
Yes.
And so I think that probably helps you better understand how to work with them, because like you said, your job is such that it leads that in place. What do you say to the person? Because I know a friend of mine who actually works in the pharmacy space, and she's the girl that writes the software for hospital pharmacies. She's the head of software. So she's a computer person, and she writes code that does all your tracking of your medications and all that in Florida. Now, there's a big hospital group in Florida that she works exclusively for them. She has a lot of the same skills that you do. She directs the technology arm of pharmacy, where you're probably the overarching, the umbrella, you're directing the whole piece. So a girl like her would work for somebody like you, I would imagine. What do you say to the person that doesn't have those skills? Because I don't like to use the term unfair advantage, but it is, and I love it. It's great. But that's a big piece of your success, not to take away from your skill sets as a human being. That's part of it. But that because your job is ideal for this. I mean, it's like you're going to crush it in real estate with the skill sets you have, no doubt. What do you say to somebody that doesn't have those skills, that is in a similar income level that you are? Let's say a physician makes a decent, a good income, but they're not necessarily, don't have the same skills that you do, because they don't really manage people. They more manage someone's care. It's a whole different animal. What do you say to them as far as getting started? How do they do that? I don't want to answer the question for you because I have my own ideas, but you.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, with every skills, people start off a beginner, myself included. I never, I developed it over my 10-year pharmacy career, and the past 5 years I spent as a pharmacy director. As you hit the nail on the head, it is slightly unfair advantage because pharmacists were detail-oriented and system-oriented by nature.
Right.
And the ones who are the best at that rise up to become director. So, I was very fortunate to be that way. But the way I kind of phrase it is, obviously you have to learn how to do it and develop it today. You can shortcut your experience by learning from somebody, whoever that is. There's a lot of resources nowadays. You can learn on YouTube. There's podcasts like your podcast, multiple other podcasts. You can follow a course, you can follow a mentor, and then that can shortcut your path to success. Like in medicine and in pharmacy, we do something called layered learning. And all it is when I'm a first year in pharmacy school, I'm learning from a second year. When you're a second year, you're learning from a third year. When you're a third year, you're learning from a fourth year. When you're a fourth year, you're learning from an actual pharmacist. So It's just layered learning, and you're just following the person in front of you, and you're just following their path. So that's one method to do that. But another method, which I personally do, is I think very systematically, and I don't blame the individual. I look at the system first and see what I can do to improve that system. And I see what we can do collaboratively together to solve the problem. So it's always a collaboration and teamwork mindset. Even though I'm paying everybody, I know that I can, be a little bit harsher.
Right.
But to me, I said, this is a long-term relationship. Obviously, if you find one or two good property managers, general contractors, and you treat them well, guess what's going to happen when they find an off-market deal somewhere else? Who do you think they're going to bring the deal to?
Right.
They're going to bring it to me because they like working with me. Absolutely. And they like the way I do things. And it's a very smooth process. So, being very easy to work with is also a skill. So it's just really surrounding yourself with the right people and trying to adopt how they think. And then once you kind of emulate their system, you can add your own flavor to it. So that's what I've been a big believer of. Like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel, right? There's nothing.
Amen.
There's nothing that hasn't been done in real estate. So just find someone who's doing what you want to do and follow them, understand their mindset, and then emulate them, and then slowly add your own tweak to it. So, even though I scaled to 90 units, I'm still humble enough to still learn from other people. If I could learn something new and tweak my system and do better for the next time, I'm always all ears. So it's just always being a lifelong student. And that's what I am as a pharmacist. So it's just always asking the right questions and learning.
That's very, very true. And those are great points. I love the layered learning. The way you explain the layered learning, you're always learning from somebody that's just a step above you, ahead of you, rather, I should say. That's a great thing. I think part of the problem with real estate education, coaching and whatnot, is that the person that's teaching the class is usually so far ahead of the people learning that there's a lot lost in translation. Well, of course he'd know that. Well, no, he wouldn't, because you learned that on year one, but this person doesn't even know that they're supposed to have learned that. I found that a lot working with students. I don't do coaching anymore, but I used to. And I know that now you have a coaching program, which I love that. You actually got offer consultation and coaching and a course. I was on your link tree today and I love the topics. I mean, and guys, I'll put his link to his link tree in the show notes. You can click on it and it'll take you to YouTube and TikTok and all that good stuff. You get into the multifamily piece, you break it down, and I can tell that you're a systems guy because I can tell the way you've laid out the course, and I love that. And guys, here's the thing. People say, I don't need an education. I can learn off of YouTube. Well, the problem with learning off of YouTube is it's not organized, which means you get the 4-year pharmacist description when you're a year one. Well, at year one, you're not ready to really hear the 4-year pharmacist. That's not layered learning. That's basically coagulated learning, I guess you could call it, or I don't know what you call it, but it's not. That's the problem with learning when you're going down the free route. And I know a lot of people listen to the show are like, I want it for free. I put out a video on subject 2. They're like, where do I get your form? From the attorney that I paid to hire to write it. That's where you get it. Well, can I have it for free? I don't think you're ready to use my form because you don't understand it. It's written in Florida law, not California. So no, I don't give those out. You can buy it from my lawyer for like $150. I mean, it's pretty cheap. So I love how you broke this down. And guys, the very top link on his link tree covers this course. And literally you hit start, you remit payment, and off you go to the races. I love this. It's priced well. It's well within reach. And maybe you're a pharmacist, and I have a lot of medical professionals of all levels. I've got everything from nurses to neurological surgeons that listen to this show. I've talked to them. They've done business with us before. So I'd love to hear some of you in the medical industry. I think people that are pilots, I know I have a lot of airline pilots. You guys are checklist people, just like you, doctor. This is the type of training this is the way it should be laid out. Full disclosure, I've not seen the inside of the course, but I like the way it's laid out, and going through your social media and whatnot, I can see that you're a guy that's really focused on the details and getting to the meat of it, handing things out. So get over there and take a look at that, guys. I want to go down though, and I want to pivot to talk about marketing, because getting the deals done and getting the unit count is one thing, and that's maybe towards the end of the journey. But the front end of the journey is you got to have people to talk to, and for most real estate investors, for all real estate investors, that's a challenge. I am a marketer by trade. That's what I do. And it is a challenge for me even to get qualified seller leads. Lots of different systems out there. I see that you use PropStream. You're a affiliate for PropStream as well. And that's a great software. I use it still every day. I used to use it this morning, actually. I was doing some research on another assisted living property we're thinking about buying in the Tampa area, and I was using it to deep dive. So talk to me about Yellow Letters Complete. Yellow Letters, guys, for those of you that are new investors, is a method. It's a direct mail marketing method. And the shtick is that people are more likely to open something that comes from someone they know. If you get something with a barcode and your name's printed on it in nice text, or, a nice font and a very professional or official thing, people are less likely to open it because it looks salesy. But when they get an invitation style envelope in the mail and they open it up and it's got a yellow letter in it, yellow legal pad, people are more inclined to read it. And there's good ones, there's definitely some bad ones out there. But direct mail, Stephen, is something that a lot of folks have a negative feeling about, and a lot of that's because they don't get any results. So what do you say to the person that has done it? They've spent a couple $1,000s on direct mail, and they're still sitting there with their hands in their pockets?
Yeah, well, let me show you my experience with my own direct mailing service. So I basically spent $3,000 to send 1,800 letters, 300 letters a month for 6 months. And I closed on 2 apartment complexes, all off market. And I had $300,000 of equity day one. So I spent $3,000 and made $300,000 of equity day one.
Wow.
That's 100x return on my investment. I think no one would say no to that.
No.
That might even beat crypto for those crypto people out there.
Especially this week.
It's just not this week. Yes. And to me, that's just day one equity. So you're buying these deals right. My 26 unit, I got for $500,000. I got $70,000 in sell repair credit, which cut my down payment in half. And it's going to I can double the rents after my renovation plan from $350 to $700. And as you know, as you increase your rents, you increase your net operating income, which increases the value. It's called forced appreciation, and it's going to be worth $1.5 million. So let's just take a step back here and do the math. I got it for $500,000. Let's say I put in $200,000 to renovate most of the 26 units. I'm all in for $700,000. It's worth 1.5 after. You do a cash out refi, 75% loan to value. You just pulled back all your down payment, all your renovation costs, and probably a little cherry on top of that. And then you can go buy another piece of real estate. And that's how you scale without partners, right? Like very natural progression. And for me, it was just all thanks to going direct to owner with my direct mail. And you kind of hit the nail on the head. You want owners to open your letters. How do you do that? So I'll tell you my personal strategy that I use and that I do for my clients and my students. I'm fully transparent and give out information. So use an A2 size envelope That's the thank you card sized envelope, not your traditional 8.5 by 11. Okay. Why is that? It feels like it's coming from a friend or family member. So you're more likely to open it. You want to handwrite their name and address on the front of the envelope. So you can pay a company like Yellow Letters Complete to do something like that. And then you want a live stamp. Once again, feels more personalized. And then they're going to turn the envelope over and you're going to have your information on the backside, not the front side, the backside, to create that mystique and intrigue. From there, I actually don't tuck the flapping of the envelope into. I just tuck the flap of the envelope in. I don't actually lick and seal it. And another reason is someone is wondering, wait, who opened my letter? What's going on here?
Oh, that's brilliant. I love that.
Right? Because it happened to me one time where I opened a letter and the flap was tucked in. I was like, wait, who opened it? So now you're more inclined to open it. And then from there, they're going to open your letter. And typically it's this generic template that I use. You hit the nail on the head. You want to come off as an average Joe, an average person.
Right.
You don't want to come off as a big syndicator, a big fancy corporation, because a lot of these letters are going towards mom and pop.
Exactly.
In a smaller town, and mom and pop don't want you to sound fancy, and you don't want to come off a big corporation because they'll want to charge you more too, right? Versus coming off as an average regular person. And then from there, I have a handwritten call to action on the letter itself. And it might just be like, for example, hey, Tyler, call me, Steven, and this is my number. It's handwritten because once again, you want to have a handwritten call to action, and then my name is actually signed. So I actually leverage my doctor title. If you're a doctor, you want to put your title, Dr. Steven Nguyen. If you're a nurse, put your title. If you're a pilot, veteran, if you have a distinguished title, leverage that title in the letter because it helps build trust. Right. And at the end of the day, the point of the letters is to get people to call you. That's it. Bingo. The point of the letter is to be opened, and you want them to call you. And the reality is your response rate is typically 1% to 3%. Right. This is based off of my experience. If it's a hot market like California, Texas, Florida, 1%. So if I send out 300 letters, maybe 3 responses. If it's in Oklahoma where I invest, it's about 3%, which is 9 to 10 letters that call you. So anytime someone calls you, I say treat these leads like gold because you spent a lot of money to get these leads calling you. And the sad reality is even out of the 9 or 10 that call me, maybe 1 or 2 are actually motivated sellers. The rest I call fishers. They just want to fish for a sky high price and they're unrealistic. But for me, I'm always like, I'll play the game. I know if they're asking for a lot of money, I know out the gate, the only way I'll take this deal is credit financing. Your price, my terms. If I'm overpaying by $1 million on a property, right, I don't mind doing it, but you better give me my terms.
Yeah, exactly.
What are my terms? Probably 0% down, 0% interest, because I'm upfronting the interest in the sales price.
That's right.
I'm overpaying for it, and I'm probably going to build a clause into the seller financing. If there's like a 5-year balloon and it doesn't appraise, I want to extend that seller finance for another 5 years. And that's to protect me in case I overpay for the property. So there's always things that it's always a give and take, right? I'll give you this, but you're going to give me this. Right. And it feels fair. Like I think human nature, they want to be reciprocal. So if you give me something, I want to give you something back. So if you can kind of leverage that human psychology, that is how you negotiate creative financing and talk direct to owner. Sorry, I kind of went a little tangent there.
No, I'm glad you did because there was a lot of good information in there. And one of the things that I take away from that is, with this piece, and I love how you're creative, you do things a little differently than I've seen most people do with yellow letters. But you're laser focused on the mission, the goal. The mission, ladies and gentlemen, folks at home, is to get them to open the envelope and then call you. Period. It's not to entertain or impress. It's to get them to do one function. That's pick up the phone and call me. So things like fancy logos and all this other stuff, if it doesn't directly lend itself to make them pick up the phone, then it doesn't belong in the letter. I love how you said, call me, Dr. Steven. Well, why the hell is Dr. Steven sending me a letter? I better call him. I don't even know a Dr. Steven, but maybe one of my relatives does, and maybe I should call him for that. Or maybe this guy bumped his head and he's going to give me $5 million for my $50,000 house. Who knows? But the bottom line is they're going to pick up the phone. Now, I wish we were on YouTube, Stephen, because I'm going to show you this, but the folks at home can't see it. This is your bank letter or your bank envelope. This is one of those faux leather pouches. You can see who sent it to me. Well, it's probably backwards, but I got this in the mail about 2 years ago. First, I want to talk about the fact that I'm still hanging on to it. Right now, it has turkey sticks in there, but that's my snack. But I won't get rid of this because I think this is one of the most brilliant pieces of marketing on the planet. I got this in the mail one day. On the front, it says People's Community National Bank. It is a zippered top envelope, one like you would take large cash deposits in to the bank or checks or whatever. So I've kept it. If you can accomplish that with your direct mail, then you've got a home run. Because now, every time I open this, I also see that it was sent to me by Russell Brunson, who is the owner of ClickFunnels, who's a master marketer, right? And I hang on to it for that reason. One of these days, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to duplicate that process and send it to my investors, maybe, or my potential ones. But you're right. If you can get predictable on, you have a very focused intent. You want to get them to make the phone call, period. You don't have to write a master's thesis and stuff it in the envelope. It's very simple, yellow letter, handwritten. Oh, but Tyler, how am I going to handwrite 30,000? You don't handwrite 30,000. Stephen, how many do you send out a month? You gave the number 300.
300.
Right. If you guys would put down Instagram for a minute, you probably type 400 letters worth of Instagram on Instagram every day with your hashtags. So 300 is not going to kill you. So the next piece is, well, how do I organize all this? And, I got to get this. You have a service for that you've put together. So tell me about Yellow Letters Complete.
Yeah. So, for me, I kind of am a little bit unique where I offer a course/mentorship, and also I'll do your direct mail automation for you. So for me in the course, I actually teach you how to do the letters yourself. So that's totally fine. I'm completely transparent. It's prop stream, and I use Yellow Letters Complete, and they'll prepare my letters. It's about $1.50 per letter. But the issue that I'm running into with most of the students is that even despite an A to Z on how to do your letters, right, they still feel intimidated by it, or they do not commit to it for 6 to 12 months, because you have to do it for 6 to 12 months to have the best results, because it compounds. The first 2 months you send letters out, you will get 0 responses, and that's normal. But you have to continue doing it for 6 to 12 months, because people will throw your letter into a cupboard somewhere. And all of a sudden, when they're doing spring cleaning or winter cleaning, they're going to see your letter and then maybe reach out to you. Right. In real estate, you're not buying real estate, you're buying situations. And the situation changes month to month. So that's why it's a little bit unique, because what helped me become successful is doing direct mail. I'm very disciplined. Right. I'm a very disciplined person, right, very detail oriented. I don't have as many other obligations pulling me at this time, but I do understand a lot of people, right? You're busy. You're a busy physician. You're a busy airline pilot. And even though it's easy to do the direct mail, people just cannot do that one simple, boring work that will help drive your business. So that's why I just offer a service where I'll do it for you, because I want to increase your success. If it increases your success, what's going to happen? You're going to refer people over to the program or to the service. So that's why I invest a lot of time and resources to increase your rate of success. And my focus is to just coach you on the negotiation side, because that's the hard part where you cannot teach in a course. It's really done through repetition. Right. And in order for me to teach you, you have to talk with live sellers. And then when the sellers call them, and then at that point they go to the coaching sessions, and then we talk about strategy, and I try to teach them how I would handle this situation. And we're both learning, right? Like I'm still learning as I'm coaching, and then they're learning as I teach them my approach on how I do things. There's a lot of people, and especially this is kind of engineers where they kind of get a bad rap for this, is, oh, I don't want to pay someone for this. I like to do it myself. Yeah. But what they realize is that they actually lack the soft skills. Engineers, unfortunately, they lack the soft skills. That's not their strong point. No. Their strong point is not soft skills. And they just come off very awkward, and they come out the gate with seller financing. And what's the owner going to say when they don't understand something? No. Exactly. They're going to say no. That's human nature, is to say no. Right. So for me, I know that I leverage that no, and I get them to say no to me up front to lower their guard.
Very nice.
This is from Chris Voss, right? It's a calibrated no.
I was wondering where that came from. So other people have used it. It used to be called, back in the old days, it was called the pendulum technique. If you swing them to a no right out of the gate, the only natural place they're going to swing back to is a yes, because, you know, the law of gravity, if it goes up to no being on the left and it swings back, where's it going to hit to a yes? Get the uncomfortableness out of the way. Off you go to the closing table. I love that. So we talk about budget. So we sign up for the service. You talk about, on average, about, let's say we do 300 a month consistently. And people say, well, that's not too bad, right? 350 or 300 a month, $150 a piece, or about $450 a month for a budget. Guys, don't put $450 as your budget, because one of the things you said was very important. You said 7 to 12 months, or 6 to 12 months rather. I say 12, because there are the people that will go, well, it's been the 6th month and my phone hasn't rang enough yet. Right. But the rule of sevens, and there's all kinds of different analogies and terms for this, but you got to repetitively hit people over and over and over again to prove that you're legitimate, number one, and that you're intent and serious. You're right, Stephen. This stuff will wind up in the circular file, in the credenza. Who knows where it winds up? I have people tell me they found it in their glove box, you know, a year later. So you have to be deliberate. So what does that mean to me? That means, guys, can you write yourself a check for $400? If the answer is no, then please don't invest in real estate until you can, number one, because if you don't have $5,400 to invest in your marketing, you don't have any money to invest in an asset. And you can't do this and be broke at the same time. You got to get your money right first. It just doesn't work out that way, being broke and trying to pull this off. So I got my 5-6 grand set aside as a budget. I pull the trigger with you. We jump into this. Do you do you charge monthly for this Yellow Letters Complete, or do you like a one-time thing for like a year? How's that work out?
Yeah. So it's a one-time fee up front. Okay. So whether you do just the course, or you want me to do mailers for 6 months or mailers for 12 months, it's just a flat fee up front. Okay. So like you said, you don't have to worry about it. My goal is you basically pay for it. You're going to go through all the educational modules. Right. We're going to pick your market that you want, wherever that is. And we're going to find a big range. I'm going to generate your list on PropStream using my criteria. Right. And one thing I do, which most people don't do, is actually we'll grab a listing off LoopNet and put it into PropStream to see how they classify apartment complexes, because it varies per county.
Yes, it does.
So I want to make your list as accurate as possible. And then from there, my intent is I'll automate your mailers for you. So I actually play a calendar on the second Monday of every month. This is how system oriented I am. Wow. On your calendar, second Monday of every month, your letters will go out. And on the second Friday of every month, that's when you should expect to hear phone calls. And why do I do Monday? Is because it takes maybe 2 or 3 days to get to you. And people do not open or check their mail seriously until the end of the week when they're winding down. So Monday is very strategic. I didn't just pick Monday out of convenience. It's actually very strategic. And from there, my expectation is you need to respond to your hot leads within 24 hours, whether it's a call, text, or email. Just acknowledge it and set up a time to talk one-on-one. And then from there, actually in my course, I have a list of 10 questions to ask to help build trust with owners. A lot of people, for me, I'm very natural at it, but I realize people are not. Right. So I created a list of questions. You know, the first initial questions are to build trust. And what I tell my students is, honestly, the intent of the first call is just to build trust and get to know the owner, because you went from a complete stranger on a letter to a human being. So now I'm actually Dr. Stephen Nguyen versus this random guy who sent a letter from California. So you need to become real. And then from there, like you said, you got to hit your list at least 7 times, actually. So it's like asking someone to quit smoking. You have to ask them 7 times at least. Direct mail is exactly the same way. You have to, if your list is 3,000 and you do 300 letters a month, it's going to take you 10 months to hit your list. And then you want to repeat that list 7 times. Because like I said, when you first sent the letter, they may not have been motivated at all. But the next 2 batches that came out, maybe they went through, there was a death in the family. There was a divorce that happened. There was a disagreement. There was disability. And now they're a motivated seller. So you're buying situations.
Yep, you're buying situations, and that I'm probably going to name this episode that buying situations, not properties, because you're absolutely buying situations. Matter of fact, I'm writing that down because that's really good. I am going to steal that. That's fantastic. Thank you very much. That's good stuff. So thank you so much for coming out today. I really, as I told you guys, I knew I was going to walk away with some good stuff on this, and it motivates me to re-energize our direct mail campaigns as we're coming into 2023. And I'm sure you're pretty optimistic for what's coming up. Yeah. With all the financial uncertainty in America, you did really well. Just the last thing I want to talk about before we wrap up is you said you did really well during COVID. We did too. What do you think was the biggest thing? Because people that were so unsure of what was going on that it just made more people more inclined to sell, or what do you, any thoughts on that?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm going off market, so I'm fishing from a different pond compared to most investors. Right. Like, unfortunately, I never had a broker bring me a good deal. Right. I've never seen a good deal on LoopNet. Yeah. And actually, even now, my students are having more success of direct letters than me because of all the uncertainty. What does that mean? You can get opportunity for seller financing. People want seller market to sell at a seller market's price, but buyers, it's shifting towards a buyer's market. Right. So what is the solution? It's creative financing. Your price, my terms.
That's it.
So I can give you your price that's maybe overpriced for this market and this interest rate, but I'm willing to do it if you give me terms and do some creative financing. So actually right now, I think it's even better. Like if I did my strategy this year or this upcoming year versus 2021, I'd probably have a way higher response rate.
Oh, absolutely.
So for me, you thrive in times of fear. And because people, it's human nature. They don't want to see the value of their asset crash when they want to retire. So they're willing to kind of play a ball a little more versus before. A lot of times I'd get written off saying I have 10, 20 other investors, despite going off market. It's okay. They'll move on for me. Right. But now they're more likely to talk to you and engage, especially if they like, know, and trust you. Right. So to me, I've seen a lot of my students go in hot markets, like one's in San Antonio, and he got an 11 unit apartment complex in downtown San Antonio and is owned by this owner for 4 generations. So what does that mean? It's completely paid off. The fourth generation wants nothing to do with management. So what can you pitch right there that's tax efficient?
Exactly.
Seller carry first, seller financing, and you give her price, make it known that's easy. She becomes the bank. You went from the landlord to upgrading to the bank, right? And you've moved up the totem pole essentially.
Exactly.
So that's how you kind of get them to understand it, make them feel good, and they're more likely to say yes to that. So to me, I feel like, when I did it and me and you did it, it was a harder time. But if we can succeed during that time, you can succeed during any time.
Oh, 100%.
So for me, whether it's a good market, okay market, buyer's market, seller's market, I don't care. My strategy works in any market, and you just have to slightly tweak your approach depending on the market. And like I said, I wish I could buy more real estate during this time. I'm stabilizing my assets right now. But once they're done and I cash out refi, I have a lot more capital, and then I'm going to dive right back into my same system that I've been doing.
Absolutely. The key here, thank you, Stephen. I appreciate you taking the time to come out today and share so much value with us. My goodness, I got a legal pad full. And guys, to summarize this everything that we've talked about, and there's a lot of solid gold in here. This also begins and ends with consistency. Because this is really not, what we're doing is not rocket science. It's that we're consistent. I've been in real estate a very long time. I've seen a lot of people come and I've seen a lot of people go. Most people go. And the difference between the people that get to make it and the people that don't is consistency. You come out into this, you decide you want to do it, you're going to need to get your marketing on task. Once you get your marketing on task, even before you send out the first letter, you need to know what to say when somebody picks up the phone. Don't go send out 300 letters a month for 12 months and then don't answer the phone, because that won't work. You got to put together systems and processes to handle business as it comes in. That begins by getting an organized way to take in that communication, take in that information. Leveled learning, as Stephen has shown us, is something that is done in college, in the pharmacy world, and in college in general. Laying airline pilots, you're taught First of all, when you get your private pilot's license, you fly with a pilot that's probably been recently licensed because they need to get hours to advance their license. They now train you how to get off the ground and how to get back on the ground in one piece. You want to get into jets? Well, you have to do that in areas. Mike, for example, flies the Airbus 320, I think. That doesn't mean that he can walk into a 787, a Boeing 787, could he fly it? Probably. But is he allowed to fly it out of the gate? Not unless that sucker's going down and the other two pilots are dead, because he's not certified on that yet. But if he wants to get certified on that, then he simply sits with those pilots, gets in the simulator, learns how to fly it, and then gets licensed for it. So, guys, that's the thing. You got to get out here. You got to be consistent. Get over to the show notes on this. I will put his Linktree link in here. You can consume all the information: YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. You can sign up for an affiliate through him under PropStream, and of course, Yellow Letters Complete. The time to get it going and to get started is now. Don't wait till the end, and you're gonna capitalize, and you will crush it in 2023 if you take action and get started right now.
This concludes today's episode. You don't have to wait till the next episode to learn to earn.
Head over to cashflowguys.com and contact Tyler and his team for more powerful tips and ideas
so you can start generating multiple streams of income
and escape the rat race.